Aloha! So, before I get started, if I could please ask if you can like this video, subscribe to my channel, that would be super duper awesome. So, I know I did not post a video last week. The Lord really had to make sure that I got the lesson, and the lesson learned, let me tell you. So, there's kind of two parts to this word that the Lord gave me. The first part is about resistance. And resistance is refusal to comply with something, ability to not be affected by something, especially adversely. So the refusal to comply, basically being steadfast. And resistance requires an action, right? When you think about resistance, you think about, other than Star Wars, let's be honest, but you think about like a force against something, right? We had talked about pressure before, that was the act on something, but resistance is actually pushing back against whatever is being pressed down on. Like, for example, resistance training, right? When you're training, you're actually making a motion, right? You're actually pushing back against the resistance. So it's not just that there's pressure against you, but you are actually acting against the pressure. And James 4:7, which is a verse that a lot of Christians are familiar with, but if you're not, James 4:7, super important verse. It says, submit to God first, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Now, the verse does not say, submit to God, chill out, relax, everything gonna be okay. It says resist the devil. So when there is resistance, we have to push back. We have to use our authority to push back against the resistance. That's the only way that we're going to be trained. We're going to be trained up in godliness, which we will talk about next time. But also it says in 1 Peter 5:9, it says, resist him, the devil, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of sufferings are being experienced by your brotherhood around the world. So we can have comfort that we are not the only ones going through this resistance. Others are going through the resistance as well, but we have to resist the devil. We have to push back, firm in our faith. And Ephesians 6 talks about this when it talks about putting on the full armor of God. It talks about when you have stood and you feel like you can't stand any longer, to stand therefore, continue to stand. And that's why it's so important. I was reminded today, we never take our armor off. We have the full armor of God on, head to toe, all day, every minute of every day. Because that when resistance comes, we have to be able to fight back. And we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against rulers, authorities, powers of darkness, and against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. We don't fight this, right? We fight this craziness that goes on just above us and things we can't see. So I would encourage you, if you're feeling that resistance, which I know that a lot of you are, I'm feeling it. I felt it for the last 2 weeks. I felt this pushback. It's time to push back against it. It's time to resist and build ourselves up in that resistance. So resistance training, let's go. It's not just for the physical, it's also for the spiritual. So flex them spiritual muscles. Love you with the Jesus love.